Little has separated the two sides all year, but this is about as close as the two coaches will get with the big one on tomorrow. Honours have been shared in their last two clashes in which both games were decided by a single point, and tomorrow may be no different. The main talking point though has been, will Mark Dufua play?
And that's still in the hands of our legal team, and we're still holding out hope, but if Mark's going to play, it'll be done the right way.
His availability doesn't concern Wanderers.
We're going to play whoever they put out there, so we played the last time we played them, and so whoever they want to put out there is fine by us.
It could be the last time Two Blues captain Michael Noonan plays a top-grade decider. He's retiring at age 28, but the whole side has been asked to play like never before.
If we just ask everybody to play the game as if it was going to be their last ever game of rugby.
Just how they play is the question, but in any case the Waratahs believe they've got the game that can't be beat.
People all year have said, they've only got this, they've only got that. Mate, we're the Waratahs. I'll tell you what we've got. We've got big blokes, we're fast and we're fit. So come and get us.
They poured through the doors of the entertainment centre last night, eager to share faith and fellowship. 200 churches uniting through a concert-like religious spectacular, Harvest 2005.
I think it's a fantastic idea. It brings all the churches together and all the Christians in the area together, and the people of Hunter can have a look around and say, hey, there's a lot of Christians that we didn't know existed.
But is it basically a Christian recruitment drive? While organisers openly admit it's a mechanism to attract more followers to the church, with a rock concert type atmosphere bringing the crowd to its feet, a far cry from a small traditional Sunday church service.
The main aim is for people who maybe have left the Christian message behind as not having some relevance to them, that they will come and hear it afresh and re-engage with that.
And it seems to be working. Hundreds of young ones from babies to teenagers turning out, and the fact it's unconventional seems to be the clincher.
That's really cool that it's at the entertainment centre and it's this big, and it's just like, okay, this is different, but really good too.
Yeah, it is a good thing because more people hear about it and talk about it and sort of get interested in it.
Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
Hers is a familiar face, the little girl with the big smile who symbolised the struggle. Even having lost her hair and so much weight, Hayley Tull was stunning. So too is her transformation from a sick child to a healthy, confident young woman.
You just don't realise that it happened. It just doesn't feel like that it has happened. A lifetime that you've kind of skipped.
Hayley was 10 when she featured in the telethon documentary A Day at a Time. She had a Wilms tumour, and an unusual variation at that. Early on, it was a scary time.
There were some days when we probably didn't think we would get to this stage because she did get really sick. But she's done really well and come out of it really, really healthy.
Very lucky, that I had all the people working on me and made me this well, so...
Hayley spent weeks upon weeks in John Hunter Hospital. There were also trips to Sydney and 18 months of chemotherapy in all. She's been cancer-free for years now and is building a career as a hairdresser and personal stylist, it seems.
So I do everyone's hair. Always busy on my days off.
Like those of the other young women and men we've met during this week, it's an inspiring story. But while their battles are thankfully over, others, like little Joseph Horde, continue the fight. Sadly, the incidence of childhood cancer is increasing, but services have vastly improved. The 1997 telethon raised more than $3 million to establish Australia's first regional children's cancer unit at Newcastle's John Hunter Children's Hospital.
I think the community made the unit in many respects. I think it was their push, particularly with the 97 telethon, that got our unit started. And I think from that point of view, they were absolutely instrumental.
It's such an achievement, and I think it's really excellent for all of the kids who have gone before the telethon to see where we are now. And I think that, they'd all be very proud of what's happened.
And the legacy they've left for kids like Joseph.
So I definitely want to be part of it, but you know, I've got to be sensible at the same time, which is difficult for sportsmen at times like this.
This is a big game, and obviously we want 3 points from it, but you know, it's still only the third game of the season, and I certainly don't want to miss him for the next 5 or 6 games, that's for sure.
It may not have looked all that busy on the streets, but finding a spot in the shade did prove a challenge in Morpeth. This is what an estimated 25,000 people come to see every year, traditional and contemporary jazz getting just about everyone tapping, bopping and clapping.
While there's plenty of jazz to indulge in, the taste buds haven't been forgotten about either.
The fest, which has been running since 1988, injects an estimated $1.5 million into the economy every year.
It's not just good for businesses in Morpeth, but for the district, because people need accommodation, they stay and have a drink at some of the hotels.
The festival continues tomorrow. Police are seeking information on a hit-and-run incident at Belmont that's left a 48-year-old local man dead. The victim was knocked down while walking along the Pacific Highway near George Street at 10:30 last night. The driver didn't stop. Friends and family laid flowers at the crash site today. Anyone who witnessed the accident is asked to contact Crime Stoppers. Meanwhile, an 86-year-old pedestrian has died after being struck by a car at Jesmond. The elderly woman was attempting to cross Newcastle Road near Chalmers Road late yesterday afternoon when she was hit by a station wagon. And a 25-year-old Maitland man was killed instantly when his car struck a tree at Gilliston Heights near Maitland early this morning. Police say the man, who was driving a Holden Commodore, was attempting to overtake another vehicle and veered off the road. Colleen West, NBN News.
The build-up to this decider had all the hallmarks of a Hollywood script. The question of whether or not Mark Tafua would play raged all week and was only answered just before kick-off. Sentenced to serve time on periodic detention, the star-back rower clocked up the necessary time midweek, clearing him to play today. But given all the pressure, you wonder just how free he felt. You didn't want to know how Michael Noonan did. Set to retire after this game, you could understand the Wanderers skipper's decision. In a first half full of tough defence and plenty of niggle, 2 Waratahs spent time in the sin bin. As everywhere you looked, the action was in your face. With all the early pressure, Wanderers finally broke through for a try, a combination of pace and quick hands, ending with Aaron Thompson and a 10-0 half-time lead for the 2 Blues. The Waratahs booted themselves onto the board into the second term as the arm wrestle continued. Tafua was the third task sent to the bin as the game clock also ran down. But 10-3 is how it stayed, as the 2 Blues shut out the Tars and sent off their skipper with a fairy tale finish.
The playground at Mayfield East was bustling as usual today, but the school buildings will bear the scars of Saturday night's senseless attacks for some time. Paint was strewn everywhere and a shed containing ride-on lawnmowers and sporting equipment was set alight. Principal Warwick Baird is an upbeat man, but admits the vandalism has surprised the school community.
A few kids are wandering around feeling a bit sad that someone would come into our school and do something like this here, but We've just had a yarn to them this morning, and they know that they're not going to let this do anything to affect them and their learning.
It's thought those responsible for the vandalism may be the same people who took the school's ride-on lawnmower for a joyride a week ago and left it in a nearby park. And then there's this name scrawled on the playground, not so bright to sign your own work, or maybe it was an attempt to throw police off the scent. But of particular concern was the damage to the school's feature wall, remembering the 1994 genocide in Rwanda.
We hope to get a community group in to work with our kids and actually rebuild it. So it'll be a good focus for the community to get together, and we'll just get back up on our feet and on with the job.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
As soaring petrol prices continue to burn a hole in motorists' pockets, former Deputy Prime Minister Tim Fischer says it's resulting in a greater reliance on Australia's railways. He's now calling on the state government to consider replacing Newcastle's existing rail line with a tunnel between Civic and Newcastle stations rather than cutting the line altogether.
You can still have your seamless Hunter Valley trains running into Newcastle, which means you can have a modern interchange near Broadmeadow. You can have your vista out to sea from the CBD of Newcastle, and all of this is obtainable.
Lord Mayor John Tate says he's encouraged by Mr Fisher's endorsement of an interchange northeast of Broadmeadow and an underground rail line. He's planning to invite the former politician to Newcastle to discuss the issue.
The idea of tunnelling, I think, has a lot of merit, but there's also a cost. So anything you do has got to be balanced against the cost.
Mr Tate added that the tunnel should begin at Stewart Avenue, not Civic Station.
But his comments were suggesting from Civic to Newcastle, which completely ignores one of the biggest problem areas, and that's Stewart Avenue. Now, Stewart Avenue needs to be addressed because it's a logjam now.
Save Our Rail today said they're happy that another plan has come forward, but they believe it doesn't address the inconvenience of changing modes of transport at an interchange. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
11-year-old Rachel is one of 38 asthmatic children between the age of 7 and 17 who has already signed on. 150 young asthmatics are needed, with the Hunter Medical Research Institute team looking at different types of inflammation in their airways.
In adults, work done here by Professor Gibson in the past has shown different types of asthma, sort of an allergic and a non-allergic type of asthma. And we're trying to see if that's the same situation in children.
Not only will asthmatic kids be tested, but researchers are looking for 20 healthy children to take part so that their airways can be studied and compared.
It'd be important to see what sort of effect the environment has on their airways, and it might even be able to predict whether a child is predisposed to developing asthma.
Asthma affects 1 in 4 young children and 1 in 6 teenagers. Researchers believe studies such as this one will help them better understand the complicated disease and improve treatment for kids like Rachel.
We don't want to over-treat children with asthma, and of course we don't want to under-treat. And maybe we can get a better balance if we understand the inflammatory response in asthma.
Anyone wishing to take part in the study can contact the research team.
This is how you may remember the departures area of Newcastle Airport, inside and out. Well, take a look at it now, with the first stage of the $8.25 million terminal redevelopment complete, the popularity of budget carriers Jetstar and Virgin Blue driving the expansion.
Australia's fastest growing regional airport. We predicted that we'd have 750,000 passengers flying through the airport in 2005, and we are going to reach those numbers.
It's twice the size of the old Departures Lounge, the wall of glass providing travellers with panoramic views of the tarmac and the plains. And what about those all-important parking spaces or a multi-level car park? Well, the airport ensures us that an extra 600 spaces should be built by December, bringing the total to 1,200.
That's the capacity that we were looking for from a multi-storey car park. So we'll reconsider after those spaces have been actually developed and see whether there's any real need for a review of the car parking once again.
Construction on the rest of the terminal upgrade will be